the Southeast Supervisory Union regular meeting. This meeting of the WSCSU will come to order. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, which means some are all of the public bodies meeting remotely and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or the public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by email. In the event of technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting if necessary to time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. With that, thank you everyone and welcome. I'm calling this to order and I'm making note that if any board member has any requests for an item to be removed from the consent agenda, please do so now. Otherwise, when we approve it, we will approve it in its entirety. Going once, going twice. Okay. We will now, for those of you at home, we're going to be going on a tour of this marvelous new building, and I don't think we can take the camera with us, but when we come back, we will commence the business meeting. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so I'm going to consider this part of the meeting the admin report as well. I don't have any new hires or resignations to announce, and not really any fiscal updates. But I am excited that we're taking this field trip here to Canastri School. Randy and I were just reminiscing a little bit. It's been 3.5 years in the making. This started with, an idea of how to take advantage of a space that was very much not being used anymore and neglected. So, years ago we started having regular monthly meetings and mapping out kind of the steps to this program. Where last year we were able to open our doors to our first Brattleboro pre-K classroom in this building. And then this year we have 2 cohorts in this building. And this is now the Brattleboro Early Childhood Center for the town of Brattleboro. So all kids that come to this program as 4-year-olds, some 3-year-olds, will then end up in our kindergarten classrooms at our 3 Brattleboro County schools. So I was in a data meeting this morning at Green Street School, and the kindergarten teachers reported that they really wanted to note that the kids coming from this program really have been showing kindergarten readiness as they started the school year, using programs like SoundTown, which we do use in our kindergarten programs. So, kudos to Lauren if she's listening for that prep work. And it's exciting this year that we have so many more kids partaking in free public pre-K. And you'll see as we do this tour that there's capacity for other classrooms. So the long-term vision is that we continue to expand. But we've also been very adamant to do that kind of thoughtfully and slowly and not overwhelm the system with too many changes. So I feel really good about the way we rolled this out. In this year's registration compared to last year's, you can tell it's starting to catch on in the town. I'm not sure what our numbers are right now, Mary, but
12 and 13.
12 and 13, so that's significant. Last fall we started with like 4 kids.
Yeah, I would like to know we have had 2 pre-Ks. We had 2 pre-Ks last year. One was housed at Oak Grove.
Yeah.
So this is the first year we moved that program from Oak Grove down here. Now all of our pre-K kiddos are here.
Yes, and I have shared that over the past couple of years. But it's a lot of work by many people. I do want to introduce and highlight a couple of our folks here who are here tonight. First and foremost, Mary Kaufman, who's the principal of Oak Grove School and Canal Street School.
Yes.
And as you can imagine, it's impossible to be in two places at one time. But Mary is an innovative leader, always open to doing what's best for kids, and has been, number one supporter of this work and leader of this work for the past 3+ years. So, thank you, Mary, for your leadership.
It's always an honor. And this is always the place to come when you need to brighten up your day.
Yeah, sure.
And Tate will introduce his team later, but Randy Levesque and Carrie Beebe have been influential in those monthly meetings with myself and Mary leading up to where we are tonight, which is 25 kids getting free public pre-K in Brattleboro, which just a couple years ago, well, we've had the Oak Grove program for a number of years, but we've doubled it at least. So, the other person I would really like to introduce and highlight is Harold Wright, who's here with us tonight, and he's going to help lead our tour. When I think of Harold, I think of Harold as like the caretaker of the school. And he has had such a thoughtful approach to making every space as inviting as it can be. He's a master painter, as you can tell. But he's just a strong advocate for the school, for this program. And it's really a pleasure. It's a highlight of my week when I come to visit the school. And Harold is just so welcoming and takes such ownership and pride in this building.
Wears a lot of hats here. Not just a painter.
Yeah, and I wish we could have done kind of a before and after, because this place was.
Well, I do.
Don't worry, Harold did.
I do have some
Did you? Okay.
pictures on the wall.
But it was an abandoned historic building basically, and we've restored it from the floor to the ceiling. And we still have some work to do on the second floor in terms of floor replacements and some of the other touch-ups in the smaller spaces, but we're well on our way.
Well, just
Oh,
one example, this classroom alone, when I got in here, had 250 feet of Christmas lights dangling from the sprinkler system. And then there was another 300 feet of telephone cable running all over the woodwork. And the woodwork was all covered in paint and screws and nails. I think this room alone, I filled 300 screw and nail holes out of the mahogany wood. This mahogany wood you can't find anymore. And I had one morning, just for shits and giggles, I grabbed a pillow pad from home, brought it in, rinsed all the soap out of it, and grabbed our industrial hand soap, which has like a grit in it, and that took the paint off of all the mahogany.
Wow.
Took me 21 days to do 6 classrooms. And then it was another 3 weeks to stain them, and then another week to polyurethane them. But they'll never have to be done again.
our lifetime.
Yes, and my grandpa taught me, you don't do it right, you don't do it. So,
Looks fabulous.
wait until you see the before pictures.
Yeah.
I also want to add that our early childhood special education therapy playroom is here, and that was here in the sort of abandoned building with nobody else the first year, about 4 years ago, I guess. Now I'm losing track. But, and now, and so we've continued to build that up, and now with 2 classrooms, and this place is alive. It's really amazing, and having our space here in this early childhood center really has so many benefits for our students on IEPs, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it's been I think it's a real important part of our early childhood center. It's a place where children can come and learn and get their needs met, and their services. It's pretty amazing.
So if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask Harold to take us on a tour, Harold and Mary, to take us on a tour of the building. And I'll take a back seat because they're the ones that really are making this place, realistic and happening on a day-to-day basis. But we'll start outdoors on the playground, where a tremendous amount of work has been done out there. I'm sure you saw the new parking lot as you pulled in. Then we'll work our way up to the 3 classrooms downstairs, the basement, and then we'll end up here. And the elevator does work if anyone wants to take the elevator. As I hope you can tell, a lot of thought and care has been put into this building and this program. And without the support of the board, it was not possible. So again, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your support, both financially and just like encouragement and understanding of how important pre-K is to our community. So, I envision potentially next year, in terms of a fiscal report, potentially we add a 3rd classroom for next school year. So we'll probably be looking at that. But again, the idea is to take it kind of one step at a time each year, so we don't really overwhelm things, but we put things in place, evaluate them, work with our teams to provide what is needed based on the feedback. And I know our parent feedback has been exceptional, which is really exciting. But, and Harold, thank you.
When you guys are up here and the gate's unlocked and the front door's unlocked, I'm gonna close the glass door, because that's locked.
Okay.
Okay, and you will lock up for me.
I think Mary's gonna lock up, and then we do have an executive session for tonight, and then I'll leave folks out the back, and then I'll make sure that's locked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll exit out the back today.
Oh, you want me to lock up out front then?
That'd be good, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
I'd like to actually thank everybody who worked so hard to earn this to reality. This is oh, because seriously, amazing.
And I would like to say thank you to Carrie, who's my co-director. Another regulation is that we have to have somebody on site 40% of the time, 40, right? And that's hard for me to do at Oak Grove, so I can't do that without Carrie. And so between the 2 of us, we work hard to make sure everybody has what they need down here. It's hard to be in a building separate from another building. And that sounds a little bit weird, but it's 2 classrooms, it's not like a whole full school. So it really does take a whole village to support our pre-K kiddos. And it is also worth noting, I'll just keep going, that we have continued our collaboration with early education services. And so, they also deserve a shout out and the support that they've provided. It's nice to be able to support kids in EES within our public pre-K programs as well. So, yeah.
And because I neglected to do this on the call for order, I'd like to wish everyone celebrating tonight Chag Sameach. I would now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? And the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to the fiscal report, this is a fiscal report. Have you got anything else? Administrative report, actually, fiscal.
No, I think we covered everything I really wanted to highlight tonight. Yeah.
Thank you. Does anybody want to ask any questions about the space that they didn't get to ask Harold, who was apparently the right person to ask? Okay. Then we will move on to this evening's presentation, special education and multilingual learners. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, we were excited to put together an update on our initiatives. At our retreat this summer, we determined that it would be good to update around graduation rates, wraparound services, and our multilingual learning population. How we're pushing kids, here, I'll move to the next slide. How are we providing wraparound supports to our at-risk students to make sure they have the final push to graduate? How do proficiencies and grades interface to provide a meaningful picture of students ready to graduate? So I saw that there's a lot of graduation in there, but this presentation is going to be pre-K through 12 and talking about all of these things and the ways that we're supporting students to really improve their experience and our overall outcomes. So we'll start looking at some data. We'll discuss the wraparound supports that we have, pilot programs that we're doing, how we're supporting our multilingual learners, and then our proficiencies, personal learning plans, and grading. So when we look at our data, we can see that the national average is 15% students special ed eligible. And then we have, some varying levels of eligibility at our different grade levels. From a low of 17.8% at our high school, down to 22.4% at the elementary. We have a bit of a bubble in our middle school currently. That's not a middle school specific problem. It's not as though they identified all those kids extra just in that grade level, but they're moving up in years, and we're allocating and responding to meet those needs as they're progressing. All right, so.
I can just speak from the elementary school. We have a total of 268 students, K to 6, plus the 7th and 8th grade at Demerson and Putney. I oversee those as the elementary coordinator. So we count them kind of separate from the middle school, but in our percentages, you'll see those are populated with males.
We currently have 62 students enrolled in our program for early childhood special ed. We anticipate 19 more moving in during the school year from early intervention to early childhood special ed. We've had a number of referrals, and we're doing a lot of EST work with a number of those referrals, which I'll talk a little bit about after. So we are definitely starting the year higher than we have in past years. It has been more around the mid-40s to high 40s.
At the secondary level, we've been increasing our numbers slightly over the last couple of years, both in raw numbers and as a percentage of the student population of students on IEPs. And we are working on just being really strategic about looking at students and how much service they really need by the time they're starting to get into 11th and 12th grade. Do they really need to be on those IEPs, or can we move those down to 504s? We're being really deliberate about trying to drop those numbers down to 504s when it's appropriate.
And I just want to note that we can't really give you our percentage of pre-K students on IEPs because of the delivery model and because it's not compulsory yet. So they're everywhere. It's hard to get that number. Certainly you can look at public pre-K and matters, but.
And a good portion transition into kindergarten and then starts low and really grows through the year.
Yeah.
And I would say, just sorry to piggyback again, but at the elementary level, when we have students that are going through a triennial evaluation, we're making really conscious decisions about, can the student's needs be met through a 504 or through an EST plan? Do they have a need for specialized instruction that they can't get met through another avenue of general education? So, we're making those conscious decisions and conversations in tandem with families to meet kids and give them the level of service that they need.
So here are our graduation rates for students with and without IEPs. We have to base our data on 2-year-old data when it's produced. It takes the state a couple of years to really vet that data and provide it back to us. And we can see that we're working on really increasing our graduation rates, and that is an ambitious goal, and we're going to talk about all of the ways that we're working to do that currently.
All right, back to preschool. We've talked a lot about pre-K tonight, so I won't belabor anything, but one thing that we know is there is an incredibly rapid amount of development happening, brain development happening in the first 5 years of children's lives. Something like 80% of their brain is developed by the time they're 5. So early support, early access is really imperative and really does, because the work of early childhood, while we definitely focus on literacy, early math, early science, early social studies, all those things, what we really focus on in early childhood is social emotional development, things like executive function, the things that children need, people need to function well in systems and in groups and to be successful in schools. I like to do this, can you stand this triangle on its head? You definitely can, right? You need a foundation. And we are in early childhood building that foundation. So it's not a responsibility of the high school, it's a responsibility of all of us starting right now. I guess to basically reiterate what Mark said, thanks to Mark for your support of early education and to the board's support for early ed, for really understanding how important it is as the beginning of our schools. This is children's often their first entry into our school system is through preschool, pre-K, or through early childhood special ed. So I was thinking about what we do to wrap around children and families to get them on the right path. From gen ed to that higher tier support. So we've already talked about all our amazing classrooms here. This work here the classrooms here has really supported the tier 3 work that we do. And Mary mentioned those collaborating Head Starts. We have 14 slots here for students who might be at risk of struggling. So that's amazing that we're able to do that here. We're using, like I said, it's social emotional content. I look at everything through that lens, and then what else is there, and with a focus on play, intentionally designed, because young children learn best through play and playful opportunities. We have 16 partner programs. I think you signed, the board signed on a 16th program a couple weeks ago or last month, and I think Carrie, you said 179 students are enrolled using our universal pre-K Act 76 slots, and then teachers who universal pre-K uses teaching strategies goal child assessment system to get a sense of where kids are developmentally. We're going to be thinking more about that data and is that useful? How else can we make that useful? And we now with the restructuring of the curriculum assessment office, we now have a pre-K to 6 curriculum assessment coordinator, which is another thing that shows the district's support of early ed. So these are all the ways we're investing here in WSESU and SD. We've done a number, I just put a little bit of our EST, and already at this point of the year, we have 6 new ESTs, 2 returned from last year, who sometimes are 3-year-olds that we're working with also, not just pre-K, because we serve the whole community, not just our public pre-Ks. And Carrie and I co-facilitate, co-coordinate EST. So I just to me, we're already at 8. That's great. That means we're utilizing our MLSS to provide and meet kids' needs. That's wrapping around them. We have our Ready Set K camp. We had 10 the first summer. We had 10 or 11 enrolled for this past summer. A couple of kids couldn't make it. We're doing, we're seeing more preschool 504 plans. So that's another way that we can wrap around students and help. And that's another thing Carrie has been coordinating, and we don't see a ton of those, but it's another piece. And then finally, our next tier is early childhood special ed. And we do a lot of things like direct service. We have the playgroups. I talked about the push-in model, we are able to really do here. This year, I've started doing monthly meetings between my team and the Head Start team, because we have a significant number of students who are Head Start students who are on IEPs. So we're meeting monthly to make sure we're meeting all those kids' needs and all the players are in place, or the referrals we need to make. And what my team has been exploring the portrait of a graduate, and we'll spend some time at each staff meeting talking about that, but we really looked at that and then looked at what does that mean in preschool, and so tons of notes, and my team was incredibly engaged in that dialogue. We collaborate with other community resources like a new BCBA program Green Mountain Sprouts that's here. They'll come in our school. Like, it's just been amazing. We do, child finding, we're doing the student vision statements in their IEPs. That's another way that we're building agency in our learners, so that they're getting what they need and want out of school, not what we tell them they should be getting out of school, kind of thing. But I just want to end with a little story about wraparound and how much it can support and how amazing this is. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to introduce you to a student, and I do have permission to share about the student, his name and his picture from his mom. So I'm not, Tate was like, you can't do that. I'm like, I would not. In fact, you'll see that I have to cover up a couple of cases because they are not students I have permission to share with you. So, this is Jem. Jem is a 4, he will be 4 in November. No, 4. Oh yeah, he's one of our younger kids, sorry. November, 21. So we started talking about Jem 6 months before he turned 3. Meeting with the early intervention team, meeting with his family to talk about Jem. What are his needs? What is his programming going to look like when he becomes an V.S.A student? Jem last year spent a lot of time doing playgroup downstairs in our space and getting access to peers, and Jem is a child with Down syndrome. Jem has a lot of needs. He has a huge team, and this year is, I know. So I'm happy to I'll pass this around so you guys can see. So Jem's mom wanted him to come to preschool, and was a little anxious about that, but she wanted to come to preschool. He wasn't ready to start full time. The team gathered, talked about what would that look like. That includes his district occupational therapist, district physical therapist, district speech and language pathologist, his private occupational therapist that works with him on feeding, disability and mental health coordinator from early education services, his case manager, and special educator, Martha, and then Jilson Degnan is teamed with Martha around Jem so that she can learn all these amazing things, and he has a lot of team members. So they're teaming to help build practice in our community, within our team. And so we met, we talked about what it would look like. He doesn't eat solid foods, can he eat in the classroom? Like, what's this all gonna look like? The private OT came, trained all the teachers, sat with him. Mom was like, he's not gonna eat in the classroom. She's like, I don't think he doesn't like this anxious eat around people. He is unbelievable. We had his annual IEP this week, and all those players were there. He had, the speech. We were like, we want a speech pathologist, so we connected with Tate, and we got him hooked in with Monica Murphy, who works with our intensive services programming. She's got him a device, so now he's going to be learning about how to talk to the AAC and communicate that way. He's got a paraprofessional. We met as a team to make sure this is the picture of inclusion also. When a child has a para, I try to meet with that team to talk about what the role is of a para, what the responsibility is, how we're trying to foster independence, not reliance, and we're trying to foster their peer friendships, not friendships with adults, and so forth. And so we meet to talk about what will that look like in your classroom, what do you want her to do when she's backing off and giving this Jem space. And so they are all, like, that picture is one of the classroom teachers, taking a turn at feeding. Well, guess what? Jem doesn't want to eat in the hallway. He actually wants to be with his peers. It's amazing. So Jem spent a few weeks coming. He's also a Head Start student, so he's got he's now going to go up to 4 full days. 4 full, he's he's going to be exhausted. When I see this team, this is here he is with his paras behind him, but giving him space to explore materials. And, we brought up his vision at his IEP. His eyes work. He can see, but we're curious, how does he see? Is his vertical vision okay? This is how we wrap around. Let's make a referral, Mom, if you're okay with this, to just get a sense of how his eyes are working, to make sure we know how to position him in the classroom, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, this is just a beautiful picture of inclusion, and his team is all taking responsibility for him. It's beautiful. And so here he is in the cozy cube down there with peers. He has friends. He likes kids. They like him. He can sit for circles. Some of them can. It's amazing. So So I did block out the kids who are not allowed to show. I don't even know who they are, those particular kids. But that's how we wrap around. What does this child need, and how do we get them? Do they need mental health support? Does a parent will say, like, oh, they really need mental health? We de-identified the child today who met all their goals, and the parent's like, he needs his IEP. Like, no, look at how well he's doing. Oh, but he needs mental health support. Oh, you need a referral to a mental health, agency. Here's our early childhood mental health team. So that is what we do. So make sure kids are getting all these needs met and sending them on with the skills or things in place so that they can be successful as they move through our system.
Thank you for sharing. Pictures tell 1,000 words.
Yeah. I was like, I want to tell you a story, and then and so this is what his mom. I'll just finish with this. When we reached out to his mom to ask if it would be okay if I talked about Jem tonight and shared pictures of him, and he said his team has been so wonderful. They should be the example of what a positive impact they can have. And then she said, he really is an example to us all, isn't he? And it's true, and it's just amazing. It's been. And all of that is possible because we're here, because this building is here, this program is here, so thank you all.
And it's with that amazing work that our V.S.A team does to support families in that early time that they have these wonderful smooth handoffs into our kindergarten through 21 program. They are an amazing group, our V.S.A staff and all the really good service providers. And they really hold parents and help them understand what's going on for their kids and to see all the potential these kids have to offer.
Thank you, Tate. I would say our pre-K, I can say it's our public, we have a dynamic group of public pre-K educators in the school district. I have been in a lot of early childhood classrooms. We have fantastic, high quality early childhood educators, and I feel really like we are really lucky for that. So they do this, they're in that. Today, we had an EST meeting for a kid's parent. I said something about the EST. She's like, this is so great. Thank you so much. Because they're feeling that being helped. It's beautiful, little kids.
Oh, it's hard to follow that. At the elementary level, we have multi-layered systems of support to support our students with wraparound needs and anytime there's a concern or a challenge. So for our students with IEPs and without IEPs, really we follow the same process. So at the universal layer in the general education classroom, second step is implemented throughout all of our classrooms, K to 6. This is a social skills program that the classroom teacher runs. We have social workers, clinicians, and school counselors at the elementary level. They can provide individual therapy, group therapy, social skills groups. These can be included in IEPs and have goals written around it, or for students that may just need a little bit of extra support or a lunch bunch, they can provide that. So it really can be super flexible. When there's a concern for a student or when a teacher or a parent, oftentimes this will come up at an IEP meeting, like Brandy said, oh, I'm really worried, my child is coming home and saying they don't like school or they're having a problem on the playground. We do something called a wellness referral. So that's making a referral to the mental health clinicians, social workers, school counselors, and they'll meet and talk about who's the best person to support this kiddo and what does that intervention look like, and get parent permission. Along with that, we have our behavior support programs where we have these VAs and RBTs, which are registered behavior technicians, writing and implementing, overseeing behavior plans, collecting data, and teams are making informed decisions based on what that data says. So do we need to change the plan? Do we even need to have the plan anymore? I met with a special educator today, and she said, we're noticing that every Monday this student is coming in and he's having the data is showing us there's a challenge on every Monday. So really having that close eye at how students' days are going and making informed decisions. As a whole community, we have school-wide pedagogy and reinforcers. So a lot of schools are following either PBIS or developmental designs. They have school-wide social contracts and school-wide expectations that all students follow and help create the expectations and the rules, which is really supportive in the implementation. And finally, we have coordinated services plans, which I think Tate will talk about in a minute, but really talks about how we connect with the larger community and get involved with each CRS.
At the secondary level, a lot of our stuff is a continuation of successful programs that we've been running. One of the things that we're really making a big effort on this year is the targeted intervention periods. We've spent a couple of years at the high school collecting a lot of math and reading data and then not really sure what to do with that. And so at all 3 tiers, we are starting to be able to group those kids into appropriate intervention groups and actually provide intervention time to, identify and then raise the achievement of students who are struggling in both literacy and math. We have a new moderate intensive needs program, which, well, it's not a new program, but we have a new wonderful teacher in there. The program doubled in size over the summer. And he's fantastic and has all sorts of great new ideas and has breathed new life into that program. And our Access Hub has been kind of a work in progress over the last 3 years. And this year it has really kind of hit its stride. It's a really successful partnership with general education. It's mostly run by general educators. That services a high number of special ed students, especially our students with anxiety who really have trouble just being in the larger classrooms, but we're able to deliver general ed curriculum in a smaller environment that's supported by a special educator and taught supported by a special educator, taught by a general educator, just in a slightly alternate space that's a little bit more sensory friendly for our kids who really have trouble accessing.
Can I say a question? Sure. So, Tate, you pointed out that 33% of the dropouts are on IEPs at the high school.
I believe that was accurate.
Yeah, so we know that if students don't attend class, they typically drop out. Have you been tracking chronic absenteeism? And is there a change over the previous years and what's being done about chronic absenteeism for IEPs especially?
I think overall, I know that Sam Steiner has taken that on as a main focus for her work this year as the Dean of Students at VUHS, and it has been a thing that we're talking about consistently as a leadership team. So that is a work in progress, and it's, I think it's a global problem that we're dealing with. It's not just our special ed students, but really how are we really doing this wraparound piece to make sure we're getting them connected and reducing barriers for them to participate. I point out that the Access Hub really is different from our behavioral services at the high school. The behavioral services is very focused on students that have significant social emotional regulation challenges or are challenged within the mainstream environment to access larger class sizes. The Access Hub is really focused on student engagement. And so it's not meant to be a social emotional program. And it is offering a lot of executive functioning support, the academic support, the credit recovery, which is a huge part towards moving towards getting kids to have the credits needed to graduate.
Flexible pathways.
Yeah. So have you seen a decrease in chronic absenteeism?
That's a great question.
From this year to last?
I don't think we have enough data this year so far on how successful we've been. Anecdotally, we have a number of kids both in the hub and in our cave kitchen program who probably already would have dropped out if it weren't for those programs. And especially the cave kitchen really started taking off this summer. Ran a summer program where 6 students ran a work study program. They came and did paid work study throughout the summer for 4 weeks to set up a garden and set up this industrial kitchen that we have up at the Winston Browdy facility. And now we have students in all 4 blocks that go up there and participate in that program. And a lot of them are students who really just were struggling to access in a more traditional classroom, but are meeting with a lot of success in that program.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So students who move out of IEPs into 504s or nothing, to make that change, do the parents have to agree?
Yes.
Yes.
And are they typically in favor of it?
We've had some success this past year.
Mhm.
Yeah. And really, the IEP ends when you end high school, and a Section 504 can continue into the working world or into post-secondary education. So it really is looking at whether or not a student truly needs specially designed instruction, just like we're looking at all grade levels, or are they just needing support and some accommodations to that allow them to access? And that's where we hope to get that the remediation has been done by the time they get to high school. Now, that hasn't happened for every student, of course, but we're looking more and more critically at, is it just a level of support that they need, which maybe our academic support teachers are able to provide, and a series of accommodations which allow them the time and the structure they need to really access and demonstrate their knowledge. Because in the long term, that 504 is lasting.
And we do continue to provide, like, students can participate and see if they're on a 504 and the need is really there. Same with, we have kids going up to the cave who are on 504. So it doesn't mean we're just gonna like cut off all your support and let you fly free. If you need the support, it's still there. But we're reducing a lot of the personnel load of doing case management and specialized instruction and just making sure that they have the environments available that they can be successful in.
And Tim, to add on to your point and to how our approach is a little bit different than last year. Last year we had discovered when we were filing truancy affidavits that December 15th was the cutoff for those, which was a little problematic in the fact that what do we do second semester for students who are chronically absent? And so we continued to file affidavits for students who were chronically absent during the second semester, not because the district attorney was going to be able to act on them, but so that they had that paperwork necessary. So then if that student was repeating the same behaviors and same pattern this fall, once they hit 15 days absent, we'd be able to file another truancy affidavit and say, what we were seeing in the spring still persists now in the fall, and we need someone to act. And in addition to that, like talking about like the larger problem of how many students we have on IEPs right now, I feel like part of our strategy is to shore up all of our tier 1 and tier 2 delivery tiers. So like, for instance, looking at Access Hub right now, we've expanded all of those general education classes threefold. Last year it was just, math being offered by a general education teacher within the Access Hub. Now we've expanded that to reading and science as well. And there's a back area where we're expanding online offerings for students through BTVLC and VHS. And so the thought being, like, by diversifying those tier 2 offerings, we're giving students more avenues so they're not having to go into that tier 3, specialized instruction tier.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. I'll just take this one moment to give a plug for our Winston Prouty, the Daily Bear at the Cave Kitchen, which is our new exciting program that Bianca Fernandez has helped us to lead and create. Kevin mentioned the summer program where they really improved. This is a wonderful kitchen, industrial kitchen set up at the Winston Prouty campus, and they created a garden. They grew all their own vegetables. They're using those vegetables in their products right now, and they are for sale. If you happen to come by between 9 and 3 every day, this next week, I believe they're going to be starting a lunch offering. And it's really wonderful food. It's tasty. They're also bringing in food products from the community to sell. And we're really excited to see the students' ownership in the program. And we've definitely prevented a few dropouts. We are definitely moving some kids that were really struggling to get their credits towards graduation that are now finding flexible pathways to get those. So really proud of that work. Okay, so coordinated service plans, I just wanted to touch on it quickly. I provided this link that talks about what a coordinated service plan is. It started in 1988, and it was this idea that we would bring our designated mental health agency together with a family, the school, and if Department of Children and Family Services can be helpful, they also come in an effort to problem solve around what are the wraparound supports that you could use to benefit and get the student moving in the right direction, removing barriers and working towards their goals. It's a very supportive process. In 2005, it was really expanded to really include any child with a disability who receives services from the Agency of Education or Agency of Human Services. So it increased the flexibility of that. We are actually mandated to offer it for students who are determined to have an emotional disturbance. It's a requirement for us to offer it. We offer it to many families. It's a great way to coordinate, hey, what are you doing out in the community to help meet needs? What are we doing at school? And aligning with that. And then after you have the initial meeting, it's followed up with typically monthly treatment team meetings to check in on that progress, problem solve. Sometimes students require a higher level of care than what we might as a school be able to provide, maybe due to overall significant mental health needs or other needs. And this allows a system for looking for that higher level of care where a student might get, let's say, a 90-day assessment where they go to a residential program and they get an assessment of what will it take for the student to be successful in their community. And so when they come back from that, they actually come with a plan that says these are the supports that are needed for this student to be successful, and we work on how can we provide that within our community. It is a proactive and preventative plan, and we use it often. And it is in great partnership with our HCRS colleagues who are incredibly helpful and supportive within the process. So I added a link at the bottom if you wanted to look on our Agency of Education webpage more about that. It's a reference for you. So we have created some specialized programming. We've talked at length about the Daily Bear at the Cave Kitchen, located at the Winston Prouty campus, serving our high school age students, and they might be there for just one block a day, or they might be there half a day or even the whole day. And it really focuses on that farm-to-table food science, applying their culinary skills, marketing, and direct sales. It's been wonderful. I really encourage you to go and check it out. You don't need to make a reservation. You can just drop by. But also we have the Oak Grove Owls program, and this is kudos again to Eric Hoffman, who's been a wonderful leader in allowing us to set up a grades 3 through 6 specialized program for students with significant self-regulation needs. This is a program that we're developing actively currently, and we're looking to allow students to get back into a school environment from specialized programs and work towards inclusion, and then work to go back to their home school. This is a regional program, so we would expect to have students from Windham Southwest, Windham Northeast, Windham Central, or any of our other related collaborative members who have a student that might meet the profile that we can support in the public school setting. It has been exciting, and it also is a challenge that we're working on really refining and providing the best level of support for each student.
I would say it's a work in progress, and we face significant challenges this fall, just to be clear.
Okay.
Okay, so this is basically just a look at the number of students we currently have. As I think many of you are aware, our program has grown significantly in the past 3.5 years since Ethiopian Community Development Council opened a branch in Brattleboro. They service families who are coming with refugee status, and we have the pleasure of working with many students and families who have come through that program.
We have a balance. Do you mind if we just go back to that? We have a balance. We have more students at the elementary level, and at the secondary level, about 40 students. And some of the students who are in 11th and 12th grade may be starting high school. They're placed at a grade level that is based on their age, and then we're looking for ways to enhance their progress through graduation. So things like flexible pathways or Flex works with Kathy Phelan, where students may be working a fair amount of hours sometimes, and how can they get credit for working and also exploring some aspect of work or a career that they're interested in at the same time.
This just gives an overview of proficiency levels, and this is sort of our world of working with multilingual learners, we often refer to the proficiency level that students have in English. Historically, our program tended more towards students at maybe a level 3 or 4, which is like developing, expanding, and more recently, we have many students at an entering or emerging proficiency level, which we provide more support for students who are at that level of English proficiency.
Yeah, and the proficiency levels on the right are just showing that someone who's at an entering level is relatively new to English and their journey to learning English as an additional language. And then with time, we're really working on the academic, social and academic language especially, that can take several years, up to 5, 6, 7, to really have academic language proficiency. So we work with students through that journey, and so our classes accordingly provide instruction at those different levels, different grade levels. But yeah, I have to say, new for our district in the past few years is really having students who are just beginning their experience learning English.
We kind of wanted to provide this background as we look at disaggregated data for VTCAP and things like that. It's helpful just to have that lens, I think, of understanding like these students are really just beginning their journey of learning English, as Jen was saying. And so while sometimes certain data points might look like shocking, understanding who that student is and their background and their experience is really helpful in teasing that out.
So we're just thinking about the ways that we work with multilingual learners and the services that we provide, and I've heard a lot about collaboration during this meeting, and truly that is the essence of all of our work, including our program, where it is not just one sole educator providing services, but it is really our entire community. And so we wanted to represent that with a graphic. We're looking at layer 1, tier 1, and how students can access and achieve in their classes from the moment they come in the building to the time they're leaving, and then also at home. So that collaborative model at layer 1 is really, really important to us and is emphasized. And then at layer 1, 2, we're providing English language instruction to students K through 12.
And just the concept of these wraparound services that we've all been talking about are hopefully represented somewhat also with the things that are happening on the sides of that graphic. Just like Jen was saying, in collaboration and how we encourage all of our families to have access to and become invested in their students' education, which they want to be. How do we support that and provide what's needed to enable that?
And so that's where our work, so for example, our district has a service of being able to provide interpretation for parent conferences and for phone conversations. So also spreading that knowledge and information to all educators so that we all have that capacity to have relationships with families.
It's been really important for our nursing staff to be able to have that communication with families. That's been really helpful in building that relationship as well.
And getting to know the greater Brattleboro community. So I think as well on the other side, collaboration with school-based program providers. We're really fortunate this year at the high school to have one member of the counseling team, the school counselor, who specializes in working with students in our program. And so to be able to have that relationship and do some programming together about post-secondary planning, just overall wellness, and being able to meet regularly regarding the students that we serve is huge. We have a robust relationship with V.S.A, where we are looking to have any eligible student be able to be part of the V.S.A talent search, where there's more enhanced discussions around how we want to take our interests and turn that into a future goal. So, and a lot of providers are going to do enrollment, so the students will be getting credit for high school and college. So, and that's really exciting to families to hear all of these different opportunities. And then also at the bottom, just thinking of all the assets that students bring to our community and ways that they want to engage. So helping make sure that they know when athletic signups are, making sure that transportation is workable, which can sometimes be a challenge for working parents, knowing about scholarships. So we're fortunate to get to do a lot of that work.
You have K-12 up there, but I could have mentioned MLL support at the early childhood level. We had a family where they were like, oh, I speak this language, my husband speaks this language, and I'm like, and the child's having a speech delay. Let's make sure there isn't, let's see how that's multiple languages in the home is impacting this child's development. And so, we called and Deb, they've come to meetings and got the interpreters for us, and so it's been a huge support to our preschool level kids also.
Any questions for our ML staff?
Thank you. Just one comment.
Could you wait to be recognized by the chair, please?
Sure. Question?
Yes.
To Maziel Brattleboro. Jen, you know about the Student Advisory Committee. We have pretty good broad representation, good turnout, but we don't have any MLL students. If you know any that would be interested, steer them our way.
Thank you. The more leadership opportunities, the better. So we should
Thank you.
Students about that.
Questions from the board? Really appreciate all this information. Thank you so much. This is very, very important. We really need to know what's going on, and thank you for all your comments. And thank you for your incredible hard work. Just having taught a baby how to speak English. Yeah.
So we wanted to look at our data. One of the pieces I know that has driven some of this discussion is the gaps that are happening between our students who happen to have an IEP versus those who don't, or students who happen to be multilingual versus those who don't. And so we've put up our most recent CAP data, and there are still discrepancies happening. There still is that gap, but we are seeing small improvements in those rates. We'll move us forward. And here are our math results as well. So we want to reduce that gap, of course. It's my belief that we won't just special education ourselves out of having an IEP discrepancy, but it really is, as we've been talking about, strengthening our core instruction, strengthening through our MLSS work, which is impressive, to really have responsive layers of support in the supplemental areas as well, so that students' needs are being met within the mainstream as much as possible. And we're reducing the number of students that are eligible even or requiring specialized instruction.
And I would just add that I prefer to focus on the graph that's actually smaller because it does show the decrease in our historically marginalized groups. So for example, this graph is math. Last year there was a 37% difference or discrepancy. The blue bar is spring 2024, the red bar is spring 2025, which shows we only had a 42% gap this year. So the gap is shrinking. That's the number we want to see get smaller.
That's a great thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like Deb said, it's really daunting when you look at the numbers and you need to focus on each individual child and what they're working on and learning. You know, ideally we want all kids to get proficient, but we need to meet them where they're at.
Like the VT-CAP guidance is if a student has been, like, let's say they have been in the US for 3 months and then they're going to be taking the VT-CAP. So they will start by, they will need to take the VT-CAP math within, you know, the first year that they're here. They will not be taking the ELA until the following year. So, and the VT-CAP has opportunities for some translated tests, but not in all the languages that our students have. So there's you know, so there are opportunities for some translation. It's a work in progress, and I think, you know, in thinking about if I were to begin taking a math test in Arabic, you know, that there's all the language that's also involved in that, and we absolutely want to be focusing on that progress, but it also provides some helpful information. Going back to that other graph, we have a lot of students who are just beginning their journey in English. We want to keep our eye on the prize, though.
So there was a question about grading, and this outlines how grading varies across our K through 12 continuum. So K through 6 being fully standards based, 7 through 8 having numerical grading aligned with standards, and the standards are reported for each course along with each letter grade, as well in 9 through 12 with numerical grading and standards for each course aligned with a set of proficiencies. They must demonstrate the proficiency and earn a passing grade to earn course credit. And then they must accumulate the required credits to graduate. So the final section is about personal learning plans. And personal learning plans were required by state law for a number of years now, from grades 7th through 12th. And there is really research that goal setting has found that developing a self-defined career and life goal is an important psychological mechanism that enables youth to have choices and results in proactively seeking out their own learning pathways. That's a great quote. What I think about for personal learning plans is, hey, here's my 5-year plan, right? What am I going to do once I get out of high school? What's my plan? What are my passions? For me, as a special ed director, I think personal learning plans are essential. We're asking students who really struggle in some aspect of their school day, come to the table, do this hard work with me. And the students sometimes are like, why? The personal learning plan really answers the why. Right? It really is about their goals, how their goals are connected to their schooling, not limited just to that, and also what community supports, what other things can be brought in to support that progress towards those goals. So there is a group at BUHS, who has been attending a 4 conference series with workshops on personal learning plans to really implement grades 7 through 12. And so it shows the 4 different content of those workshops. And after the first one, I heard very positive results from team members who participated. So these are the work that we're looking to do in this first year. The core team was formed, and they're to provide resources and a vision to our middle and high school staff and students. Then developing a scope and sequence for those personal learning plans to be developed for staff to use in their advisory, which exists. Now it's about publishing that plan to engage families in the personal learning plan process. We commonly call them PLPs. Now we'll have an established, consistent professional development routine for faculty related to personal learning plans to develop, support, and have the vision of them. In the second year, we'll have that 90% of our students have initiated their personal learning plans. And then that there's a regular structure for students to work and revise these as they move through their career during their school day. And then we expect to begin to see an impact with increased graduation rates from our system. So, you know, obviously a student's vision of what they're going to do for their 5-year plan is going to change from 7th grade, let alone 9th grade, let alone their senior year as it becomes really real. We hope that a personal learning plan could be sort of a portfolio that tells each student's story, how they connected, what resources were helpful to them, and where they hope to go with what they're learning and developing for skills. Okay. And that wraps up. Are there any questions around personal learning plans?
Questions from the board? Questions? Is there anybody in line?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think I have a question.
Sure.
Can you talk about how the personal learning plan, I assume you're talking just about kids on IEPs?
No, this is for all students.
Okay, so there's no difference in how that is run and operated and so forth?
No, actually, the only thing I would say is a personal learning plan might be reviewed by an IEP team to find inroads around strengths and avenues to keep high motivation for students who might be struggling in some certain part of their academic day. But no, all students would have it, and it's a meaningful piece for students at every level in the process.
It's a reinforcement of the fact that the more the student buys into the process and contributes, they're going to stay with it.
That's right.
They're going to tweak it. They're going to recognize that they're working with adults who will help them with that flexibility. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it might allow for teachers to differentiate their instruction, knowing that said student has an interest, let's say it's in aviation, and that then we may find a way to incorporate aspects of that focus or that passion into the curriculum that they're providing, or some of the activities they're doing to reflect their knowledge in that class.
Are all core teachers involved as well? So like everybody's seeing it as it's being developed? Okay.
This is trouble on topic, but I would love to see every student in our district have a personal learning plan.
I agree.
Yeah. And it really goes right along with the work we're doing in special education this year with student vision statements in our IEPs. We're asking that all students pre-K to 21 that have IEPs work with their special educator and their trusted adults to develop a student vision statement and have that in their IEP as a goal of what they want to be working on and learning and where they want to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, and how can we help them get there.
Or today before. Tomorrow so far.
That's another avenue to offer voice and choice for our students and families, because families would have an impact or an input into each personal learning as well.
Thank you all so much for all your hard work and for this information pile. That it matters. And Brenda, thank you for the pictures. I needed that today.
My block idea, but I didn't have pictures. They found a gem in the.
Yeah, well, anybody wants to win me over, bring me cute pictures. Cute pictures.
Just pop by here, like Mary said. We need to cheer us, you know. Go in a classroom.
Also snack time and
play.
With everybody's permission, I'd like to take a 10-minute break.
Yeah.
So we'll take a walk. Anybody who is clearing out can. If not, everybody's welcome back. So it is 6:45. We are back at 6:45. Back, everyone. That was a really great presentation, and I hope everyone will take a look at that slide presentation. If you're out there watching, it will be available online if it isn't now.
Yes, absolutely.
Moving on, the superintendent evaluation. Now, I know that we have already approved using the V.S.A. this year. I'm here with a contract, and the amount for the contract is $2,000. And I would like to do this the same as we did last year. We're using their standard tool, which actually came from this board, the old VSU board. And what we had done was we reviewed their summary just to make sure that we felt that what they were saying in Mark's evaluation was what we were reading from the results.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Karen.
I move we authorize the chair to sign a contract with the V.S.A. for our superintendent evaluation.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Yeah,
May I ask a question?
you may.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example of what Windham Northeast is doing. So you might want to change your strategy after that, or maybe not.
We're on a deadline, so changing things and having already used the V.S.A. services, we might want to consider it for future evaluation, but I don't think we want to change what we're doing right now. So is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you very much, and I'm about to sign this and give it to Mark. They need a copy and a check for half the amount.
Okay.
Thank you. So moving on, under policy, we have superintendent evaluation and contract negotiation presented for first reading. Yes, Karen.
Can I make one tweak?
You may.
Okay, section 3, part C, negotiations process, part 3, can we get rid of the word board? Because it says board review, and then it says the negotiating team shall review. And I feel like at some point we're gonna get confused going, wait, is it board review or negotiating team? So can it just say review?
Yeah,
Anybody want to see it?
it's just one group.
I just want to get rid of the word there, board. Because it reads board review : the negotiating team shall review the proposal and, if necessary, develop a counter proposal based on the district budget constraints and prevailing market standards, period. It's not board review, it's reviewed by the negotiating team.
That makes sense.
So I don't want us a year from now to go, wait a minute, what do we mean by that? To me, if the next point is clear, final agreement, after a review by the final SU board. So the SU board does get the review, but it's not at point 3. Sorry, I was being nitpicky.
No, that's excellent.
That's what Deborah and I do for 2 hours every other.
I'm sorry, I didn't use a red pen.
I'm using a black pen right now.
Your green pen's in the hand.
Does that make sense? Just get rid of the word
Yeah,
board.
board.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was it. I read it 14 times. Thank you, policy. I really want to try to get back to those meetings.
Okay.
That's it.
Oops, remove a word. I'm going to pretend that's not there. Because everyone who might want to text me should be in this room. So this has been first reading. If there are concerns, send them, yes, Ken.
Can I make a statement about the proposed policy?
You may.
Now, may I join the circle?
Sure. It's easier on my neck.
Might be. For those of you who prefer reading, I've made copies.
I don't know what you.
That is just, I'm going to be reading this. sorry, I can't find that. So, I'm glad to see that the proposed policy ensures that the superintendent contract negotiation processes include full board review and public disclosure of terms. This is progress towards a level of transparency that we all want, yet it is still incomplete. I was deeply disappointed by the Policy and Amendment Committee's decision to omit language that would ensure teaching staff participation in the superintendent contract negotiation and evaluation policy. Superintendent evaluation is one of the most consequential responsibilities of a school board, and to conduct it properly requires the broadest and most accurate picture possible. That picture is incomplete if the voices of those most directly impacted by the superintendent's leadership, our teachers, are deliberately excluded. Who can credibly argue that teachers are not directly affected by the superintendent's decisions? Concerns about how to include staff participation are not reasons to abandon it. Every significant policy requires detailed procedures, and those procedures can be developed by the board. In fact, one of the simplest and fairest solutions is to distribute the survey to all full-time teaching staff. Doing so eliminates any worry about selection bias. Every teacher has the same opportunity to contribute, and no one individual or administrator determines who participates. Other supervisory unions in Vermont and across New England already use this approach, inviting not only teachers, but also parents, students, and community members to provide input. We would not be breaking new ground, but aligning with best practice. WNESU offers a strong example, systematically gathering perspectives from multiple groups in a fair, anonymous, and research-based way. It has been suggested that teacher feedback might be biased, or that some teachers may have an axe to grind. This reasoning is flawed and frankly troubling. Every perspective carries some degree of bias, including that of principals, board members, and community members. But the solution is not exclusion, but balance. Properly designed surveys draw from a broad population, ensuring that individual bias is diluted and meaningful trends emerge. That is the very reason survey research is valuable. To dismiss teachers' voices outright on the grounds of potential bias disrespects our professional staff, reflects a gross misunderstanding of survey methods, and eliminates a rich source of data. Data we all need to build on success and continually improve. We often hear in admin presentations of the significant accomplishments of teachers, we just did tonight, and in administration, including teachers can only support this narrative. Teachers are entrusted every day to assess students, programs, and even their principals. To suggest that they cannot be trusted to provide honest, professional feedback about the superintendent is inconsistent and frankly disrespectful. Their voices would not supplant the board's evaluation, but would enrich it with insights into leadership, communication, and support. Insights from the classroom that board members lack. By surveying all full-time teachers, we can be confident that feedback is inclusive, representative, and fair. Moreover, we know from our own curriculum and HR offices that surveys are already used throughout the year to gather teacher perspectives on programs and initiatives. If we regularly seek input on curriculum and instruction, why would we not also seek input on something as consequential as the performance of the superintendent. A well-governed district welcomes multiple data sources, applies sound research methods, and respects the perspectives of its professionals, including teachers. Anything less weakens our governance and does a disservice to our community. I should note too that the evaluation process must remain fully independent and free from conflicts of interest. Any perception that the person being evaluated has shaped the process undermines trust in both governance and outcomes. This issue has been discussed over the past 3 years. I urge you to resolve it tonight and affirm that teacher voices belong in this process. I urge this board to embrace a transparent, research-based, and inclusive evaluation model that strengthens both governance and trust, that provides superintendents with the data to build on the positive and continue to improve. I urge you to reconsider the policy committee's decision and explicitly include full-time teacher participation through a universal survey of all full-time teaching staff in the superintendent evaluation process. Thank you for your time today and for your added consideration. I'm including the public notice that WNESD sends to the teachers and community members. I'm also sharing their evaluation tool, which I'll just hand out you look at. Their evaluation tool, which Dr. Cheryl Charles, the chair of WNESD, gives us full permission for use to use or adapt to our needs. This is their evaluation tool that they use for the superintendent evaluation. It's simple, straightforward, 7 items on it. This would really reduce the time spent on the superintendent evaluation to really get to the core elements that we want to look at. So I'll just pass that around.
Can we send an electronic copy of this to Carrie?
Yes, I will right now. And I would ask that it be included in the minutes.
That's why I asked you to send it to Carrie.
This narrative makes mention of the policy and amendment committee on a couple of occasions, and I just want to say that that committee really processed this policy carefully, and some of the assertions in here about why teacher voices are not included, I think is incorrect. You know, that the feeling that it would be biased. I just I also take issue with the third paragraph on the second page. I don't see this at all. I think this is, I'm saying this for the record, where the comment is, I should note too, that the evaluation process must remain fully independent and free from conflicts of interest. Any perception that the person being evaluated has shaped the process undermines trust in both governance and outcomes. That has not taken place at all.
Can you respond?
It's a conversation, I don't know, yeah, sure.
It's a conversation, but I'd like to reiterate that I really strongly feel that Mark has tried very hard to keep his mouth shut through this entire process.
So,
Except to indicate that he's uncomfortable being in the room when we have discussions.
yeah, so it has been a discussion, in that committee, and it has, as you know, gone to legal and HR. So it's wrapped around in that way, but no other implication.
Okay, that comment really is precipitated by a comment made in June at a SU meeting where you said, well, this is the latest iteration, and Mark and and Carrie had weighed in on it, not in SU public discussion.
You didn't say Mark, I said Carrie. And
No,
Sean.
that was Carrie and Sean, and I wasn't at the meeting because I missed the meeting. I sent in my comments of the proposal.
And Sean weighed in the open meeting.
So I'm just going to say a comment like
So
this.
it wasn't hard.
So I'm just going to say that when there's something as pointed as this third paragraph, it has to be said very, very carefully with a surety, and it's not valid. So.
Well,
And may I speak? So I feel like this is the third time I've had to correct the record, and I have, I believe, been accused of violating open meeting laws, which I have not done. I missed an SU meeting. I reviewed the meeting. Part of the meeting was this policy, so I wrote Ann an email saying, hey, I wasn't there. Here are my comments. I know you're working on this. That is all I did, and I believe Sean commented at the meeting. There was no open meeting law violation. Mark was not involved at all. It was me writing comments to a chair to update her because I missed the meeting. That's all that happened. I'm allowed to write the chair comments of a document that we discussed.
I wasn't thinking about open meeting law.
I think you did at a prior meeting. This is like the third or fourth time
So this is not a
has
prior
come up.
meeting.
So it's, okay, so my comment right here is this third paragraph is so incorrect. I don't, right, it's incorrect.
Okay, I'm going back 3 years to a meeting where Mark was asked, is that okay with you?
I don't want to go backwards. I want to stay.
And I have no sense of what was okay with him or not. It might have been out of date.
Okay, I'll stand by my.
Okay, fine, and I
It's not accusing anybody of conflict of interest. It's just a caveat.
It's
right to the edge of the
Oh my
body.
God.
Absolutely, it's.
It's
Okay.
any perception that the person being evaluated has shaped the process undermines trust. That's a pretty strong statement to make that more than insinuates that something inappropriate has taken place. I also, the policy committee brings policies forward. We review them, we bring it for a first reading, a second reading. I'm sorry you're disappointed in the policy committee's work, and we did discuss this.
Yeah, you know, the policy committee is really you and Ann, who are part of this board right here. I'm still befuddled as to why the policy for the SU went to the policy committee when the committee is embedded in the SU. The comment about bias stems from that policy meeting where the comment was made about somebody with an axe to grind.
Okay.
That concern.
Okay. We've discussed this in policy, how we function, and it's an SD committee. We know that. You served on it for many years.
But Harry has also served on it as an SE representative.
Yes, I appreciate that, but it is essentially an SD committee, and that overlaps to the SU in terms of moving policy out to the SU. I don't know. I'm commenting on this. I don't even know what I'm commenting on. I don't think that anything inappropriate has taken place. I think the policy committee, whether it's 2 people or 3 people, is neither here nor there.
Yes.
We've rather deviated from the heart of the recommendation to include full-time teaching staff in the evaluation. To sum up my comments, superintendent evaluation is one of the board's most consequential duties. The selection is not a problem if the survey is universal. How to include staff is a solvable detail, not a reason for exclusion. Concerns about bias are misguided. Teachers are trusted daily to assess students, programs, and principals. They can assess the superintendent. Survey research is sound. Exclusion undermines trust and values. And now is the time to act. Let's focus on the heart of the recommendation, which is to include teachers in the evaluation process. There's no need to go to Pietro asking teachers to fill a voluntary, so of course it would be voluntary. You're not asking them to go beyond their contract. Just like Mike or Brent sent out surveys, this would simply be a simple survey, hopefully simplified. And I will say that I'm doing this because I believe that it would make the process better, fairer, more complete. And I hope there's no misunderstandings about my motivation behind this. Since antagonism.
Right.
So I'm unclear on the process at this point because we just looked at the policy as a first reading. So what has to happen at this point?
If this board decides it needs to go back for further rewrite, then we will do that, and we will have another first reading. If the board accepts it as it is, it will go for a second. And then we will still have the opportunity to alter it, and then it gets bumped back to first reading, or to accept it, and then it will go for adoption, which will be warned publicly and will be on the notice and agenda.
So another question.
Sure.
So Tim, you just mentioned at the very end of your summary that you made reference to the possible contractual complications in asking teachers to do this. And I recall that was something that came up in previous discussions about including teachers. I'm unclear about what the determination was. Is it asking something outside of the contract to ask teachers to do that? Because
The impression that we got from the V.S.A, the impression, the statement, was that this tool was not designed for use with faculty, that we were mostly evaluating things that they might not necessarily know about, for example, his budget or his relations with board members.
So,
And that I think.
excuse me, that's the tool that the V.S.A uses for,
Yes,
that we would be asking them to use.
yes,
Okay.
and I believe that the sample size was also considered much too large. At which point it was suggested that we use a selected number of our teachers. And the questions that we ran into at that point had a lot to do with what does choosing some teachers and not the other mean? And does that have contractual implications? Do we have to pay them for that? How is the decision made? So that was something we took into consideration.
Liz has her hand up.
Yes, Liz.
Hold on, I have to ask her to unmute.
Okay.
Excuse me, if I may ask
It's a follow-up.
Oh, yeah, hold on, Liz.
Yeah, hold on, Liz. Yeah, right.
So then in the policy committee, this section was taken out because of those additional complications that came to light as a result of asking the V.S.A how they would implement survey of all the teachers.
Actually, it has to do with a conversation we had with them a couple of years ago about adding teachers into this tool that we were already using. And that discussion happened, I believe, at the SU board, not at, the reason that it happened in policy was after the suggestion was made to use a selected number of teachers. We didn't even discuss how that might work. And concerns were expressed both by council and by our HR director.
That's one more thing.
Absolutely, as much as you need.
So the sample questions that Tim shared, like 7 of them or so.
From WN.
Yeah, from the other SU. Do we know whether or not the V.S.A could include just those in addition to the survey? Or,
Yeah, we're not. Okay. Well, you can, yeah, okay, I can't do it. I think you have a good. I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part again?
is it possible for our arrangement with V.S.A in doing the survey for them to include those extra questions for teachers, or send them just to teachers?
I took a picture.
Oh, good. I mean, I'm gonna ask Cheryl for them. Did they come back to you? Or come back?
They made it. Yeah.
So,
If I could clarify,
Sure.
those are the questions they use for the entire evaluation by board members, teachers, students, the public.
That's it?
Yes.
All right.
I like ours way better.
I think ours is quite rather comprehensive, and,
I thought that was a separate one. That's
Yeah, I
that's
thought
the
that was-
only 7 they asked.
yeah, but the ones that are on here are very similar to ones that are on, but we have a current evaluation tool, but ours is much longer
Depth.
and more in depth.
And we created them. Like the V.S.A is using them, but in effect, it came out of an SU board.
Yeah.
We didn't like what was being used, we kind of created our own, and then they said, that's great.
And look at
And I think because this is a new policy, it is appropriate that it did go to legal. We really did need to have legal look at this.
Yeah, and we're clear about that, Brian. This policy did not exist.
Yeah, this is a brand new policy, which is looking to codify what the process has been and tighten it up. Right.
There was no policy before this.
That's what I just
That's
said.
what I just.
That is what I just said. I said it's a brand new policy. Right.
I'm sorry, and Liz, you had a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
So I haven't really been at a lot of your meetings. And I remember the first evaluation we did of Mark, which was from the V.S.A, and I was thoroughly disgusted because it didn't get at things that I wanted to see. And I understand you've changed that, but as the leader of the SU, it seems to me that teacher input is invaluable. It may be inconvenient for the V.S.A to try to use that information, but if we have this is not the case at all, but if we have a superintendent and our teachers don't like him, period, and let's say 80% of them don't like the way they're being led, that to me is really important. Because our teachers are professionals, they know they know what they need. And I think, that in years gone by, it has certainly been the case where we've had a superintendent that the teachers did not like. And that wasn't a very good situation. So I would, and I would think it should go back to the policy committee. And the V.S.A, I know they like to have their way. I understand that about them. I know how they operate.
We are hiring them to do this job.
I know, but I'd like to see it go back to the policy committee to revisit the idea of surveying teachers. Because it seems to me Mark is doing a great job. He's personable. Teachers seem to like him, and that's great.
Can we strike and not talk about the individual?
Yeah,
Please, that's not okay. That's not okay. I'm uncomfortable.
Okay.
So I'm sure Mark appreciates hearing that you are.
But this is about.
Yeah, I'd like to see it go back to the policy committee and more discussion of it, because a superintendent is critical in an SU, and that's my take on it. As far as the rest of it, whatever Tim handed out, I'm not privy to it, so there's no comment there. I just would like the teacher issue revisited.
I've had mixed views about this, I know, in SU meetings. And I remember at one point saying that teachers do have a sense of top-down. I do want to say that we are not a teacher-based institution. We're just not. We're a hierarchical-based institution. Teacher
as a whole, or the board?
The district. The district. Yeah, we are hierarchically based, and I don't know. Yeah. I don't think that I don't think the solution is having every teacher, or not teacher, every staff person in the district filling this out would be particularly meaningful. I think it should be those people who work most closely with the individual. I think that's where the value is at this point.
I know my own personal, just in my life, I don't think it's appropriate. Like if I was being evaluated, I'd want my immediate bosses to be doing that evaluation, not sending out notes to all of my customers, all of my vendors, all of my customers. You're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. It's not appropriate. And I know in here, Tim mentions about parents, students, and community members. I don't think that's appropriate. I mean, we, like Deborah said, we're hierarchical. Thank you. It's one of those words late at night. We are Mark's boss.
Yeah.
It's our job and it's our responsibility to do this. It's not somebody else's. It's our job.
Yes.
I noted that this process would enrich the data, it would not supplant the SU's decision. And I keep repeating this, I'll repeat it again. Teachers are impacted by the decisions of the superintendent. That's why WNESD uses this. Third, as far as manageability, it's not every teacher that's going to fill it out. Realistically, you know that if you get 25% response rate, that's great. And that's manageable data. If not, that's a good problem. But the reason not to do this should not be the implementation is too sticky. That's just not the way we should operate on any policy. We can't abandon a policy because it's too hard to implement. The board can figure out ways of doing it.
I'm comfortable where we're at, but we're only at a first reading. So when it comes up for a second reading, if any board member has had an idea or a change, we can talk about that.
Okay. Is everybody all right with that, or should we keep going tonight? Because we do have an executive session to get through as well.
So at the second reading,
We still have the opportunity to make changes. And in fact, even after one adopts a policy, you can go back and change it again. That's what the policy committee is currently in the process of doing, changing policies that we already have. Or leaving them depending. So we deciding to come back next time and discuss this is entirely viable. Sending it back to policy committee is viable. But the final decision has to be made tonight, and if we don't make one, it doesn't change the existence of the policy. I'm sorry, Deborah.
It can also go for a third reading, a fourth reading, if this still sort of sizzles amongst us, where we're discussing it as the board, as the SU board. We don't have to make a final decision on it.
Yeah, this is the second first reading.
Yeah, it's a
We had
second
a review before and decided to send it back to policy, so when I scheduled it as the first reading again. So, yes.
Has this board voted on and approved the first reading?
We don't vote on
We don't vote
readings.
on first readings.
We don't vote on the first readings.
They
They just
adoption.
Yeah, the only thing
Yeah.
to vote on is the adoption.
Right.
Which is essentially the third reading. But this is still the first reading because
And my last question, and I appreciate your time and consideration tonight, but what is the advantage in putting it off till the second reading?
giving us time to think about it.
giving us time
to actually think about what we wrote.
or make changes.
And just,
You know, if we're going to change it, then, well, it'll be a first reading again, but we can bring it as a second reading if we want to make changes. And we can take it back to policy. People who need to take it back to policy.
but I think as chair of policy, I feel like the role of policy is being questioned in the work that we're doing. So I feel that, and that's okay that I feel that. It can, you know, go back and forth to policy, but we were not fast in making this decision. So I mean, I know, and you've raised the issue of a discrepancy between policy and SU. SD policy, committee, SU, right? So I'm not sure at this point how policy even factors into this, but
It's been a place to consult the other people in this district.
Yeah.
Consulted on different levels. We have teachers in there, we have specialists in there, we have administrators in there, we have business people in there. Sometimes we have people from the outside world in there. That's the difference between, that's why we're doing policy.
Yes.
The way we're doing it, because we have all people in the same room as best we can. You know, sometimes they don't know, to consult.
But what we don't have are 3/5 of the board that makes the final decision.
I'm sorry.
In the policy and amendments committee, we're missing 3/5 of the board that makes the final decision.
Meaning this board?
Yeah, at the
Right.
policy meeting, you're missing Keith and Kim and Carrie.
But we can't.
But we make the decision here.
Yeah, that way.
I know, but they're missing out on the discussion in policy.
No, because there's video,
Recordings and
Okay.
notes, and
so I can
they can
watch them.
contact us at any time,
Okay.
and they can come to those meetings. And
And
if all the 3 of the 5 of us were there, we'd have a quorum,
We
which
can't
would
do
make
that.
it a meeting of the full board.
fine. And if you want to consult with somebody who's really initiated a very different structure, I urge you to talk to Dr. Charles, Cheryl Charles. We all know her. Well, a lot of us know her.
But Deborah and I talk to her pretty regularly, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm happy to talk to her.
Okay, I think that's a good approach. I think we should have a conversation with Cheryl Charles about this. Yeah, I'm all for doing that. Do you have that?
I have it.
You have it, okay, good. Okay, you have
Carry
it.
her a picture.
I have a picture, so I can,
I'm
I
gonna-
can email her.
Are you going to email me a picture?
I can email
That
her
would
a
be great,
picture.
that would be great.
Yeah,
That's all.
just him.
Yeah.
If you-
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Hopefully my photos
Thank
go.
you. So I think, so in the interim, I'm going to propose that we, and I'm going to suggest that Ann and I engage with Cheryl Charles. Ann and I as members of this committee and members and the standing policy committee.
Okay, I hope she's back from Dubai.
She will be back by the end of this week. I happen to know that.
Okay,
We have a Zoom session with her
good.
at the end of this week.
Okay.
She will be back. She's already said that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again for your time.
Okay. Having gotten through there, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session under 1 V.S.A. 313A7, the academic record for suspension or discipline of students. No action will be taken. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, as soon as Peter inviting in Mark Spino and then Coco.
Okay.